what I have prepared for us to look at and kind of review is a lot more about why I want to do this program, why I want to offer it to you. There's still going to be a lot of information that I don't cover, but this is one way to just get a little bit more insight from another way that you might learn. I have a lot of information posted on the internet, and I'm sending out emails and making social media posts, but sometimes this type of communication can be a lot more grounding. It just depends. So I wanted to give all varieties of communication and just allow people to kind of lean towards the one that resonates the most with them. So this program that I'm offering is called Make It Easy, which is an 11-week business mentoring program that starts in just over a month and will run for 11 weeks into the new year. To the week of January 23rd. I think the last date is actually January 16th, but I can confirm on that later. And with this program, let's see if I can go next. Oh, yeah. With this time together, I wanted to go over the program a little more in depth. I wanted to tell you why I want to offer this program, what makes it something that I can offer, and what kind of need I'm hoping to fulfill. What is like the core belief that I feel like I want to share with you. And then I want to talk about why it might be right for you. And with that, I'll offer some ideas, but mostly it'll be a time for you to reflect and then think about your own situation and put it into words why there might be a feeling or a sensation of being called to this program. And then what is the upcoming timeline and important dates? And then time for more questions and the next steps on if you want to engage further. So this is where we're going. And throughout, if you have questions, I'm more than happy to take the questions. The overview of Make It Easy. It's a small business mentoring program for the inspired idealist with proven expertise in their field who also needs technical, financial, and process-oriented help. So what does that mean? We'll just go through it. What is a small business? It's really an initiative that you're working on, and from my point of view, where you're the main driver of the efforts. So you might have some people supporting you. You might have some independent contractors that you call on from time to time, like I do for Tejal Yoga. But ultimately, you are the key stakeholder and the primary decision maker. So if there's a question around financial investment, you would be the decision maker. If there's a question about programs and agenda or direction, you would be the one making that final call. If there's a question about operations and how to manage the day-to-day, even that would be something you're more familiar with than anyone else. So when it comes to independent contractors, absolutely, I support having those as part of your work. However, I fully support being able to train anyone in your work very well. And in order to do that, I believe you need to know the task inside and out. So you have had experience in it already. This becomes a really interesting conversation when we talk about things in our business that we don't know how to do, that we don't like doing. And when you think about some of the tasks that come up with running and operating a small business, you might think about what it is that you're not necessarily called to, and how you might want to pass that on. I'm a big proponent of having people know the task inside and out to be able to offer it. If you're just joining us, you're welcome to drop into the chat a little bit more about yourself and what brings you to this space. Now, who is the inspired idealist? This to me is someone who is really motivated in the work that they're doing. They're very inspired to do the work that they're doing. It's got a story that feels very personal to you. And there's a very clear reason why you have chosen to do the work that you're doing. I want to highlight here, and I'll say this again, that this offer that I'm making for Make It Easy is not just for people interested in offering yoga classes or workshops. It's really for anyone that falls into this small business mentoring program bucket. And then additionally to that, who might be inspired by the work that they're doing. Idealist is an interesting word as well because uh, I do encourage all of us to be realistic about the work we're doing, as well as understand our capacity and what we're accountable for and who we're accountable to. But at the same time, idealist to me is somebody who really wants change. So the inspired idealist is another way for me to say someone who is working in their area, chosen area, at the intersection of social justice, looking for transformation and actively working on transformation within society and self. So just drop in the chat or maybe put up a reflection if this is you, if you feel like already I might be naming who you are. So Make It Easy, a small business mentoring program for the inspired idealist with proven expertise in their field. In order to have proven expertise, I have set up one small definition of that to showcase expertise in your field. For me, the parameter is that you've been working in your area for a year or more, and that you have programs and offerings that you've tried and have executed. So one note about those two items, working in your field for a year or more and have already offered programs, classes, or workshops or talks in that field, it's also up to interpretation. So if you feel like there's some wiggle room, if you feel like, oh, I'm not quite at 12 months, but there's a story there, I encourage you to write down that question for me so that we can talk about it later, because there's always nuance and I'm very much open to that. This person, this inspired idealist with proven expertise in their area is also someone who needs technical, financial, and process-oriented help. So I'm making that very clear. I'm bolding that, I'm highlighting it because there are other areas that you might be seeking assistance for your small business and for your participation or your growth. And those other areas could be energy blockages. It could look like never having started yet for whatever myriad reasons, right? It could look like not actually knowing what work you want to focus on, right? It could look like having a very perfectionism-based mindset, and so you don't actually have 1 year or any programs about the work you're doing. So it's important to know whether you feel drawn to this program and whether the program will be able to meet you where you're at. Because as much as I want to be supportive and help everyone, being in a small group program does require everyone to really sit down and think about whether they fit into the criteria of the program, that the program can actually help you. If you want something else, like spending one-on-one time with me to work on different elements of your business or your work, we have options for that. But when you join into a program, it's important that you're clear on what the program will offer you and that you also want that, so that everyone else that joins into the program is in the same boat. And if we're all in the same boat, no matter if we're upstream or downstream, we know how to row. But if we're not in the same boat when we start, we're going in all different directions, and we might not be able to get the coaching or support we need to go in the direction that we're seeking to go. So with small group, I want that to be really clear to you. So I'm thinking a whole body yes, a whole spirit yes, a whole mind yes for this program. Otherwise, I will be selling you on something that won't meet your needs or expectations. And nobody walks away feeling good about that. This program is meant for us all to walk away feeling good about our contributions and good about what we're receiving. So we're making offers to one another on accountability and direction and effort. And then we're also walking away feeling like we were met with that same level of energy. So I hope that's really clear. Something about me that I didn't really put in this presentation, but I will share because it might seem very specific, the type of support that you'll receive here. It also might seem a little bit confusing whether or not you need all that, whether or not you're at the point that I've highlighted where you are going to benefit the most. So again, I encourage you to ask those questions either today or schedule a call time with me. But what I do want to say is that if you are looking for technical support, that could look like, what system should I use? What kind of reminders-based system should I use? How do I organize my schedule? How do I organize my tasks? That's something we'll cover. If you're looking for more financial learning and education so that you can then take control of your finances or your projections around finances, you can start to understand how you're moving forward with the plans you have financially, you'll get that here. If you're looking for more process-oriented support, this is really important. You might really resonate with being a creative person and that most of your life and work is creative. You're creative. Some of the most successful creative people I know are process-oriented. And some of the most successful creative people I know only work when they feel inspired. Both can work, both have their own drawbacks, both have their own privileges, and what we'll be looking at is how to build process over and over and over with the certain tasks that we want to be doing. It's really important to remember that your programs can look different. Your offerings can look different. When you feel creatively inspired to put something together and offer it out to people, that can look different than what you've done before. I'm not asking you to flatten your work so that it's all the same content. What I'm inviting you to do is to be as creative as you want, but then implement a process of sharing that with people that will help you get organized and very clear on what it is that you're doing. So when you look at some of the programs I've offered this year, just yesterday, I offered an in-person community program called Yoga Bingo Chai. And it's as you would have guessed. We practiced yoga, we played bingo, and we drank chai. And then just a month before that, I offered an energy shifting gathering on the beach over here in Santa Monica called Let's Talk Shit, where we came together and we, in a two-part program, we started to process what's been coming up for us. The good, the bad, the ugly, and the bull. And when we did that, it was a very different format. There was no yoga movement. There wasn't any games. And we didn't drink chai. The reason I'm sharing that is because your programs might also look very different depending on the season, your energy level. But in fact, the way I shared about them and how I engage people, there was a similarity amongst the two. There was a thread. So I invite you to consider how you might benefit from seeing a thread and becoming a little more process oriented. So after we talked about the program, I just want to share a little more about why I want to offer this program. My top 3 reasons why I want to offer this program are around community. The first one is around a foundational principle, a belief that I have, and also because I've experienced the opposite. I believe that with support and compassion, we will thrive. I believe that you can thrive, and I believe that's how I thrive. I know that for myself because that is my lived experience. I know that for my work because being a small business owner, being the only person that is the key stakeholder, uh, is a choice. I'll say that. And at times, it can be very lonely and isolating. It can also be very exhausting. And you might have heard the term burnout or exhaustion, right? But where do you go to for support if you're the one generating ideas and doing the work? It's challenging because you might be employing other people, you might be contracting other people to work with you, but you're still the key decision maker and the key stakeholder in the work. So if you needed to fall back on someone, at times it can feel like, where do I do that safely? So I wanted to offer this container as a way for you to have a space where you could offer up what's really going on with you, with people that are in a similar boat and can resonate with what you're just sharing. I think with that type of connection and relationship and accountability, we will thrive. Part of my story is about the work that I've done up until now. I started teaching yoga and became a person who teaches yoga full time in 2015. But my years of education started formally in 2012. So formal education yoga programs in 2012. In 2006 is when I started working after college. And you'll note that I've written on there, I have 10 years of corporate finance experience. So I worked with different consumer packaged goods companies, and I worked in the finance division, and I would work on the financial planning and analysis. There would be an accounting department, and I'd work closely with them. There would be a marketing department, and I would work closely with them. There would be a PR department separate than marketing at times, and I would work closely with them. I've worked with warehouse management. I've worked with production management. I've worked with the people that are helping manage the bottles that were getting filled of shampoo and conditioner at the first company I worked with. So I've had relationships with almost every functional department in a company that makes products, physical products. And in that role, I even took on more than finance. So in my second corporate job, I took on sales forecasting, I took on trade management and systems administration, and I took on supply chain, really demand management. And I got a lot of experience. But circling back to that second note on why I want to actively support people in doing what they love is that in those 10 years of corporate, there were times where I really enjoyed what I was doing. I was energized by it. I liked meeting people. I liked working with product. I liked working with numbers. But I could tell deep within me that I just liked it. And when I started to experience what it could be like to teach and be a person who teaches yoga practices, I realized that is something that I will love.
And because I knew that I would love it, I made the choice to switch. Now, it came with economic privilege. It was a very bold move for someone in my family structure. And I needed to have a lot of inner balance and support and steadiness in order to make that switch. And I'm happy to say 12 years later, I'm still doing that work. It's evolved, it's expanded, it's contracted, a lot of different variations of being a person that teaches yoga, but I still love it. And I really want to actively support other people in doing what they love. So the key to that is that you're already doing what you love, and you've been doing it for at least a year or more. Okay, so that's really important for this program. I just got off the phone with someone who is a Pilates teacher in Atlanta, and they're doing okay, but they did suffer some storm damage in the hurricane last week. And we talked today, and it was very interesting for them to get to a place where they realized they were constantly talking about how there wasn't enough representation for Black and brown people in Pilates, and that at some point they wanted to walk the walk. So they were doing a lot of talk the talk. And I get that. We have to build the narrative. We have to speak the narrative. We have to share what we know with other people. At a certain point, people are going to come to us and say, okay, how can I change this? And there need to be opportunities for that change to happen. So that person in particular realized, I'm always talking about representation in Pilates, not just students, but at studio level, teachers and studio owners. And I've been doing that for so many years now that I've heard over and over and over again, well, do you offer a training in the way that you want people to be trained for the community that you would like to be trained? And the reality was, no, they didn't, until they felt it was time and they were aligned and resourced to be able to do that. And then they started doing that. And this year was the first time they offered a teacher training, and it was sold out completely. And now they're expanding to the West Coast as well as the East Coast in Atlanta to offer this training again. And they have a model that they can now say to people who hear them talk about the systemic issues of representation within Pilates, well, here's your next step. So I am doing this program because I also want to actively support people who feel like there's not enough representation. Some of the issues that you care about are not being addressed in the work that you're doing, and you are ready to tackle that, but you also need the tools and support that will be provided through this program. And I think it's worth it to say that I feel qualified. I feel ready. And it's not just because of the number of years of experience. It's because of the kind of work I've been doing, the ways I've been engaging, and some of the challenges that I've faced that have pushed me to think about how to offer something like this. So these are my top 3 reasons why I'm here today talking to you about Make It Easy, this small business mentoring program. Of course, I also want to work with you to understand your reasons why. And you'll see here that this program is for those with 1 or more years of experience teaching yoga or otherwise. So again, just a reminder, you do not have to be a person that teaches yoga to benefit from this program. You do have to be a person with 1 or more years of experience. And if you have less than that, and you're wondering, we can have a conversation about it for sure. So write that question down and we'll talk about it. Other reasons why you might want to join Make It Easy, this small business mentoring program, is that you're done playing small. You've just realized you have filled the container that you can exist in, and you're bursting at the seams. You're ready to grow your presence. You're ready to show up more. You're ready to share more, and you're ready to do it in a way that doesn't push you to burnout. So you're being thoughtful about it. You're being curious about it. And you're also excited to a degree. What this work will offer you through the modules that are planned is a way to build aligned and authentic relationships. So that will start with me. It will start with the people in the program with you. It will move outward into the world that you live in and the relationships that you already have if you implement these tools and ideas in a way that feels aligned for you. So in order for this to connect to you, and this is really important because I'm not going to sell you on a guarantee, right? I'm going to meet you with 110% effort for what is your intention that you're coming into this program with. And I'm going to ask you to only start this program if you're also at 110%. Also very key, right? We can't pay people to guide us in our work if we're only kind of, sort of present. If we're worried about X, Y, and Z, if we actually don't have the energy and space and time. Inviting someone into our business and our concerns and our challenges and our wins and asking them to be at 110% for us is going to require you to also be at 110%. So if this is creating any thought, conversation, or questions, you can jot it down. We can get to it later. You can type it in the chat and we can talk about it now. Another main reason why you might be interested in this program is that you're feeling scattered about how to launch your ideas. You have the ideas and you've launched things before, but now you're at a point where you have bigger ideas potentially, or you have less time because the existing ideas are in play and you want to add on. So you're feeling like you want to get really efficient with things. Another reason you might be feeling scattered is that you have a ton of ideas or you have a ton of content and you don't know how to whittle it down. So if that's the case, I would encourage you to do some deep digging on your values and deep digging on what has been successful for you in the past and what are the threads, what are the connectors between your values, what has been successful in your past 1 year or more of experience, and all these ideas that you have to implement and move forward with. Maybe from there, it can funnel down into 1 or 2 ideas, and then you can space them out and continue forward with some clear direction. And another huge component of this program, entire first module, and how it will drive module 2 and module 3 is around the money that you're going to make. So I want to be really clear that this program is for people who consider the work they do to be a business. I do not know how to work with nonprofit structures, and I don't want to sell you that I can figure it out in time. Yeah, I can figure it out, but that's not what this program is for. I also want to address the idea around owning and running a business that might feel icky. Right. I've talked online before about this, and I've shared it in an email that I hate capitalism. And I especially hate late stage capitalism. And I even hate that there's something out there that makes me want to use the word hate. So there's a lot stuck to capitalism that I am very resistant of. And I have come to a point in my life where I recognize that I do run a business where I charge for my time, energy, education, that I'm bringing to the table and the efforts that I'm making. I do feel that there is a value to that. And that value, were I in another place, maybe in another space, could come from bartering and exchange. But right now, because I live in this system and I have not moved into any other place where I can fully release money, I charge money for the work that I do. And that money helps me to fulfill my basic needs. And from there might be some ways to feel liberated from this practice, but this is where I am right now. And this is the system that I am opted into, and also with or without my liking, am involved in. So I encourage you to sit with what it is that you do. Do you feel comfortable talking about your work as a business that you run? Do you feel like it needs to shift gears out of that? I want you to get really clear on that so that you know when you come into this program, you will have that clarity around money stuff. And you will have the capacity to put dollar signs to your plans. I gave you some reasons that I think are top reasons why you might be interested in this program. If these do not feel relevant to you at all, the reasons that I gave you, need clarity around finances and forecasting your future, you're feeling scattered about next steps, but you have ideas you want to implement. If you're just done playing small and you're ready to grow your capacity and your presence and be in a bigger bowl, right? Then those might be really resonant to where you're at. But if those don't feel resonant at all, I want you, regardless of what you're feeling, to sit with an open page or a notebook and start to jot down some things, some thoughts about your top 3 reasons why you might be interested in Make It Easy small business mentoring. So go ahead and just jot that down. Now, depending on the size of the group, I was going to invite breakout rooms, but we're a very small group today. So I want to invite you to really put down in words what you think your reason why participating in Make It Easy will be the right move for you so that we can talk about it together. So I've paused the recording. So Nataraj and Adriana, I paused the recording and I just want to give you some time to kind of collect your own thoughts. And then when you're ready, share it, right? And you can put it in the chat or you can share it by going off video on the video.
Sorry, real quick, is you're requesting that we write something in the chat and then speak, or
No, you don't
either?
have to put it in the chat. You can just share it.
Oh, okay.
You have 2 options. So if you'd rather put it in the chat, you can.
Okay. I guess, we have a couple reasons to share. So one is that we've been sharing a healing and art practice for the last couple of years, 2 years, and I guess 2 years of kind of like a very solid practice, and then the last year of not a regular schedule of offerings, but taking those offerings and working on a book, working on basically scaling it up from just being, like in the neighborhood, offering locally. So 2 years of like regular yoga, breathwork, meditation offerings, working with some folks, mostly one-on-one, and then food as medicine offerings, as well as in, kind of like a subsequent art practice. So a lot of storytelling, writing, drawing. All of this has resulted in just a whole bunch of very specific breathing practices, asana flows, um, and kind of mindful eating practices that we've evolved, that we feel are unique and of value to many folks. We've been asked by a number of people to share those things in a variety of different communities and spaces, workshops, and just kind of in-person private sessions. And this has led to a whole bunch of different ideas and um, yeah, not only ideas, but then kind of like specific experiences that we want to now launch and get the financial, technical, and process resources in place to be able to do so. Um, yeah,
Yeah, thank you. I mean, that sounds really clear. So I'm glad that we went through this exercise because it helps me understand a little more about where you're headed. And I also want to address like the past year of almost sounds like recalibration and just like getting to a space where you feel steady and balanced. Still fits in with having had that experience because of the 2 years that you said was a pretty steady time of offering yoga and healing practices, right? Healing and art practices. So great.
yeah,
Yeah, great.
thank you.
Okay. Oh, I think I kept the recording. If that's fine with you, I'll keep it in the recording.
Oh, that is what we shared is recorded, you mean?
Yeah, just now. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Cool.
Yeah, does that sound better or can you hear us clearly? Compared to,
It sounds a little better, but I think I'm more attuned to you.
okay, nice.
It's the same kind of like there's like a fuzz over it, but it's fine. It's really fine.
Okay,
Yeah, so then the other two things I wanted to talk about and also open to other questions as they arise. It's just what is the timeline from today on? Like, how does this work and what are the important dates to keep in mind? So if you're feeling like, okay, I have a clear why I want to do this, and it also matches with the vision of the program and what might be offered, there's some things to consider. There is a second info session, and that's going to be taking place next week on Tuesday. And in that info session, I encourage you to sign up because it'll be a separate topic of discussion. Today, we talked about why I'm offering this program, why you might want to be a part of it. And next week, I want to talk about how I'm going to invite you into these tools. What are the tools? How will you utilize them in a little bit more detailed way than you might have received from reading about the program? And I think that will be really helpful to kind of further ground some of this information around the technical, financial, and process-oriented skills. Following that, just a couple days later on Thursday of next week, the early bird timing closes. So at that point, if you haven't applied, you definitely want to apply by October 10th. And the way to apply is just by filling out the online form that has about 5 to 7 questions for you to put into words. Things like, what are your top 3 desired outcomes? What is your bio in terms of the work that you're doing and how does it relate to who you are? Any relevant aspects of your identity that you feel put you in a unique position for the work that you do. And a few more questions around not just identity and work, but also your history and background of work. So early bird, I encourage you to apply before early bird if you're interested, because after this date, you'll lose this 15% discount. So the reason for early bird is so that we can secure a solid group and then be able to assess like needs going forward for the program. Following that, the container for the program will open on November 7th. And in the program, it will be 11 weeks. We'll meet almost twice. We'll meet regularly almost twice a week for 11 weeks, with a week off at the end of November, with 2 weeks off at the end of December. And then we'll be moved into January, the new year, and the container will close. So again, it's January 16th or January 23rd. I have one date in my head, but there's one date written down, and what's in my head always overrides what's written down if I'm not looking at the paper. But it will be the 16th or 23rd of January where we will close the container. So at that point, the program ends and all of the meetings will fall off your calendar. There won't be any more meetings, but you'll have the rest of the cohort for your accountability, dependability, for all of the relationship that you built, and to be able to move forward with people that are focused on working on their business as well. Next steps from today on are many. You have many, many options for what to do next. And I just want to give you all those options so you feel like you're investigating and navigating all of the ins and outs that will help you make a decision, because it's no small thing to financially invest in your own business and in your own education. And I recognize that. So what I'm asking is for you to decide if scheduling a one-on-one call with me would be more efficient and effective for you to understand what's coming out of this program that is specific to your needs. And then we can really talk through that. I just had a call with a potential student today, a potential sign up today, that had two questions. One around schedule, because they have a specific concern about some of the dates, and they wanted to know what I thought about them being able to keep up with the program. And I was able to share with them that the replays will be offered to you either that night or the next morning of the session date. And then it's up to you if you'll be able to find the time to catch up on the replay before the next session. And also, if you feel comfortable doing that and utilizing the support of the group for any questions you have, and also the one-on-one support you'll have with me, so that you stay as comfortably on time as the content is being offered. The second question that student had was around their financial sustainability for the program and ideas around payment plan and what was possible. So if that's something that you need, we can have a conversation about it. There are certain minimums that I have to hit in order to make deeper than our posted BIPOC and scholarship deadline offering. So it kind of is an interesting conversation if that's something that needs to happen. And then again, info session 2, it's coming up next week. I say sign up for it. Don't feel bad signing up for it. You should definitely join both because there's different content. After that, you want to submit your application. The website is at tejalyoga.com/make-it-easy. And from that application, it'll just be a few days before you hear any feedback, but you'll either get a yes from me or a request for a call to ask for more questions so that I'm also able to say I can meet you 110% of the way. Beyond that, the container opens and you want to save all those dates to your calendar, November 7th until next January. So that's really everything I wanted to cover today about the why you might be interested and why I'm offering this program, these important dates, and the next steps you have.